Welcome to the story of the Great Commission. This story is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 28, verses 16 through 20. The lesson focus for grades 3 and 4 is Go Make Disciples. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all contain an Easter story. Likewise, all 4 Gospels have stories of the disciples meeting Jesus after he was resurrected from the dead. Some fell at Jesus' feet, others ate with him on the shore of Galilee, and still others doubted and had to touch him to be convinced he was alive. In the midst of the activity following the resurrection of Jesus, there came a time for Jesus to return to God. Before Jesus left his followers, he commissioned them to do an important job. He promised to remain with them always. This commissioning, often called the Great Commission, is a high point in Matthew's Gospel. Jesus gives directions when he calls the disciples to be heralds of the good news. His disciples are sent to tell the world about Jesus and baptize others in his name. The Great Commission begins with a firm statement of truth. Jesus says, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me." Then the commission is given. Go make disciples. Tell the stories. Tell what you've experienced. Teach those who have not heard of me. Baptize them. Spread the good news. This is our job. This is what Jesus needs us to do. Jesus is our teacher, and now we can teach like Jesus. The Great Commission was meant to inspire followers of Jesus then and now. Jesus gives all of his believers a job to do and the power to do it. He also promises to be with us as we do it. It is as if he knows that this making of disciples throughout the world will be a great challenge. Therefore, he promises to remain at our side. We hear the Great Commission in a few ways. These are the last words of Jesus to his church. But they are also a promise for the world. The pledge that ends the commission is an empowering one. We are never left on our own to do this job. We are given the best resource, the presence of Jesus. Jesus gives us power and never leaves us. Jesus sends us into the world and is with us always. Go and teach about Jesus. The story of the Great Commission is a vivid one for showing how we are all called by Jesus to spread God's love. Jesus tells us to go make disciples. 3rd and 4th graders are concerned with fitting in. At times, they may gossip, tease, and argue to make this happen. Having a class covenant can help avoid this. If kids come to class each time knowing that the expectation is that they are respectful to one another, they are more likely to show kindness and cooperation. Throughout class time, remind kids to use the Spark Bible stickers in the back of the Bible. It gives kids another way to actively participate in their learning and reading of the Bible. Encourage them to mark in their Bibles too. They can make margin notes or highlight verses that are meaningful to them. In the arrival activity, highly competitive kids may try to run instead of shuffling. Don't be afraid to send them back to the start. Kids this age are very tuned into rules and what's fair when playing games. Being fair about the rules will help all kids participate equally. Some kids in your class may relate to Anthony in the leaflet story called Cookies and Juice for All. Point out that the church rejoices when someone totally unfamiliar with church comes to check it out. Encourage them to ask friends and neighbors to come check out your congregation. This is a great way to spread God's love. Kids this age may not realize how powerful their evangelism may be. As you review the Faith on the Go options, point out how they can influence other kids to see how church is a good place to be. If you choose one of the options each week, they'll be more likely to take this part of the leaflet seriously. This story of the Great Commission has an important message for each of us. We are all commissioned to go make disciples.